Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd like to start by paying tribute to the mums and dads, the brothers and sisters, the grandparents, the guardians, the extended families and friends that have campaigned diligently, respectfully and passionately to bring about the reform and access to medical cannabis that they so desperately desire. Many are full-time carers with the pressure and time constraint that entails, and that they have found the time and the commitment to energise and campaign, a campaign that for far too many politicians and medical professionals have turned a blind eye to. I'd like to thank the Backbench Business Committee for supporting me in bringing this debate forward here today, and thank those members who have mostly reorganised their diaries and their travelling arrangements to be here today. But there are a number of MPs who would normally be here today to debate a subject which is close to their hearts, but for a variety of reasons, not least COP26, they are not here today. But I can guarantee you they would all support any move by this government that would make access to medical cannabis and research with medical cannabis easier. Because I've never heard any MP argue against those objectives. There's confusion. There's confusion about drugs in general, and that definitely tempers some people's desire to speak out. But in the provision of medicine to sick people, it's not an issue.
Would he accept an intervention?
Certainly.
I'd like to congratulate him on securing this debate and indeed for the cross-party support for it. And would he agree with me on the research question that it's very encouraging to see the link between very serious forms of epilepsy and the potential curative effects of the of various elements of this particular what we call a drug?
The issue to me at the heart of this is that it's great to see research is now been undertaken, and I've got a list of 5 or 6 projects which I know are looking at medical cannabis across a range of different medical conditions. But there's still an issue that a lot of academic organisations cannot get the access to the cannabis plant or the hemp plant they require because it's graded as Category 2, which keeps it out of the hands of people. The paperwork they have to go through, the process they have to go through to access the raw product is prohibitive. And by recategorising from 2 to 4, we can aid research into it from a host of academic establishments. So the question is, in my mind, is why are we not making it easier for people to access medical cannabis? Why are people who can benefit from medicine derived from the hemp plant being denied that opportunity? Why can some be purchased on private prescription only? Why are we not making medicines that are widely available in other countries available in the United Kingdom? Certainly.
I congratulate my honourable friend for securing this debate, and he's making really important points. I'd like to share with him, one of my constituents lives with progressive myelopathy of uncertain cause, which affects his mobility, causes him to suffer from incontinence, brain fog, exhaustion, and almost constant pain, which he has described as feeling like hot wires being pulled through muscle and skin. So I wondered, does my honourable friend agree with me that there is real urgency to this issue because of people like my constituent who are suffering on a daily basis?
Of course, I absolutely agree with you. And I understand the difficulty the government find themselves in particular ministers who's new in post, that we have to have research, solid research, which proves the efficacy of medicines. But behind that, we do the fact that people are living with these conditions day in, day out, extreme conditions, and have been doing so for an awful long time. And we've been slow in getting to this stage of research, so there's every reason why the government should accelerate it for cases just as the one you've explained to me. And over the last week or so, I've met with representatives from Multiple Sclerosis Society and End Our Pain. But over the years, I've heard representation from a much wider range of organisations and individuals that see medical cannabis as at least part of the solution to their or other people's health issues. As you may know, there are 2 licensed cannabis medicines, Epidiolex and Sativex, which are both made by GW Pharma. There's nothing wrong with these medicines, but basically they are isolates or very nearly. And isolates simply do not work as well as full-spectrum products, and they have more side effects. A full-spectrum cannabis product contains all the different cannabinoids and terpenes found in that strain, whereas an isolated product only contains one chemical, such as the CBD in Epidiolex. There is published evidence that full-spectrum products are basically twice as good as the licensed Epidiolex for treatment of these seizures. Then there are the unlicensed cannabis products, which account for virtually all of the privately prescribed products. Products which are not licensed are not routinely prescribed by NHS clinicians. They can be prescribed by specialist doctors when they're on the GMC specialist register, and there are now about 10,000 private prescriptions. 60% of those are for pain, 30% for anxiety and similar like PTSD, and 10% for other conditions including neurological like epilepsy and MS, and some cancer and gastrointestinal disorders like Crohn's. It's clear to see that medical cannabis can aid a wide range of conditions. All products that are imported because the Home Office has been slow at granting cultivation licences for high THC plants in the United Kingdom. And matters are made worse because the import process is very cumbersome. 3 years and 3 months after the current Secretary of State for Health, and while he was Secretary of State for the Home Office, changed the law to allow for prescriptions for medical cannabis, we still only have 3 NHS prescriptions. And as I mentioned yesterday in the Westminster Hall debate, but it's worth repeating, Hannah Deacon, whose son Alfie is in receipt of one of those NHS prescriptions, has written to the Secretary of State for Health 3 times, asking him to help, as he promised to do in writing to her while he was Secretary of State for the Home Office, but all 3 letters have been ignored. Why, 3 years, 3 months later, are there so few NHS prescriptions? Well, basically, doctors are not trained in cannabis medicine, although several teaching programmes are now available. However, the main barrier is the rather unhelpful guidance produced by the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, NICE. They have looked at cannabis as if it were a pharmaceutical product. It is not. We need better guidance written by people who understand the plant and not by those who only understand pharmaceutical medicine. We also need acceptance of validity of real-world evidence. The BPNA recently reviewed its guidance on prescribing medical cannabis in the case of intractable epilepsy. And I have a number of serious concerns about this. It appears to say that if a family go ahead with a private prescription of medical cannabis, then the NHS paediatric consultant should insist that the private paediatric consultant should take on 24/7 care. I'm extremely concerned that there's a further attempt to make the consequences of privately prescribed so burdensome as to effectively deter private prescribers. No private prescriber will have the infrastructure to provide this level of wraparound care. My concerns are further increased as this appears to have actually happened to one family already, and I have a letter supporting that which backs up my concerns. I'm pretty sure that washing their hands of patients in this way is not legal. Could the Minister immediately examine this issue and seek clarification from the BPNA that the interpretation above is not the case, and to insist that this guidance is removed or changed? Many barriers would be broken if GPs were allowed to prescribe, and a recent survey showed that about a quarter of GPs would be happy to prescribe. That is a simple change of the necessary statutory instrument under the misuse of drugs regulations and would not require parliamentary time. And I notice, as of today, that a leading UK insurer is now offering insurance cover for doctors prescribing medical cannabis at rates now not dissimilar to normal cover. To make this easier, there should be a focus on where the evidence lies for prescribing indication-specific, medicalised, pharmaceutical-grade cannabis. We must build on the legitimacy and efficacy of these medicines through the implementation of structured approaches to prescribing. This will help the UK healthcare system to be more inclined to prescribe cannabis sensibly. I've heard in this place many times while we've debated refusing immigrants access, health and safety in the workplace, poverty and welfare, the phrase, "Does somebody have to die before we take action?" Well, regarding this debate, People are dying. People are living in unnecessary pain and discomfort. And I only have 4 questions for the Minister. Will the Government recognise the value of real-world evidence, such as the research at drug science, including Project 2021, as proof of the efficacy of medical cannabis, and stop insisting on randomised controlled trials, which are unsuitable in particular in the cases of rare forms of epilepsy in children? And does the Government have any plans to conduct a health economics analysis on medical cannabis to investigate the cost effectiveness? Will the Government meet the cost of prescriptions for children requiring Bedrocan, Bedrolite or similar products? And if a child was suffering from an epileptic seizure and the Minister had the medicines in her hand, would she administer them? And I'm sure the answer to that is yes. So will she please help to put that medicine into the hands of those that care for these children so they can administer it? And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, access to medical cannabis will someday be the norm. We need to confront the obstacles that exist today and clear the path for better access tomorrow.
Question is, as on the order paper. Crispin Blunt.
Thank you, Madam Deputy